Professor Alok sir, we have more than 50 students now. If you're ready, I think go ahead and
Yeah, we can start.
yeah.
That's a- That's one session is there. IPP session is there. Good morning, students. I think my voice is audible, I guess. Yeah. So essentially, the session is on business analytics. Yeah, and I guess a lot of familiarity is there with a lot of people. Yeah. So anybody would like to venture in terms of their understanding of business analytics and how is it impacting the world of business? Anyone? So you feel business analytics is going to play a large role in the days to come in the world of business? I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir. You're audible.
All right. Okay. So anyway, so I so guys, feel free to ask questions. Yeah. I'll be using a presentation now. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
All right. So, so couple of questions, open-ended questions for everybody. Yeah. So how come there's a lot of buzz around this word business analytics? Yeah. And how come it was not there earlier? Yeah. Why are we talking so much about it? Yeah. And so my sense is that over last few years, the digitization has happened in a very uh, big way. Yeah. So that's one driver for the business analytics. Yeah. The second driver is that networks have become more and more, I would say, uh, the, the speed of networks has become really fast. Okay. So as a result, lot of computing is happening through networks. Okay. So what we are calling as cloud computing. Yeah. You would see that. So, your Gmail, your Yahoo Mail, these are all essentially content that is coming from some network, isn't it? So there's a lot of data traveling through networks. Okay, that's one driver. Cloud computing is one driver. Uh, the fact that there is a lot of data getting generated, that's another driver. Yeah. Processing, the computing power has increased. Yeah, that's another driver. Yeah. So we were not able to. So while the data was around us, but we were not able to process it. Okay. So we have now a term called big data coming up. Okay. Anybody familiar with this term? Big data? Okay. So big data essentially, if you have already heard, great. But if you haven't heard, big data is essentially, we're talking about several dimensions of data. One is in terms of the sheer volume. Okay. Second, in terms of its complexity, and the third in terms of the fact that the data is constantly on the move. Yeah. So let's set the context with the how we have arrived at this point. So few things. Um, I would like you to familiarize yourself with a few of these measurements of data. Yeah. So what we are today, we are in the age of zettabyte, it seems. Yeah. Back when I first touched computer, we were talking in terms of kilobytes. So from kilobytes, we moved to megabytes. From megabytes, we thought gigabyte is really a big deal. 1 gigabyte was earlier the hard disk capacity was in megabytes. Yeah. And so 1 gigabyte was a big deal. And then we came up to, so now the hard disks are in terabytes. Yeah. So point is that there's a lot of data getting generated, and we need to be familiar with some of these terminologies. So every 1,000 of megabyte is a gigabyte, every 1,000 of gigabyte is a terabyte, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Now it seems the kind of digitization that we were talking about, it seems in last 2 years we have generated 90% of the data. Yeah. As you can see, the data is growing at a very rapid pace. It seems in 2020, 40 zettabytes data has been generated. So obviously, digital universe is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And this is another perspective. Yeah. This is another perspective that data is coming from so many sources. Anybody saying something? Is commenting? Can I continue? Yeah. So I think somebody is saying, speaking. Can we? Is there a question? Somebody? Anybody is asking question? If you are, I would suggest, write in the chat box. Yeah. All right. So we were talking about, guys. Some of you who are in traffic or something, please mute yourself. I would request host to little bit intervene, yeah, in the interest of everybody else. So so earlier, majorly the data was getting generated and within a company. Okay. Today, more data about, let's say, IBM is outside IBM rather than inside IBM. Okay. So that data could be in the form of social media or the sensors and devices and so on and so forth. Yeah. So these are some perspectives that I hope you are able to relate to. So what I'm trying to convey net is there is a huge growth in the data, and when we say big data, we also talk about what are the different data types that are included in the term big data. So we have earlier, majorly, as I was telling you, that majorly the data was getting created and generated within the company. But today, if you look at the social media, if you look at various other sources of data, they are mostly unstructured. Does anybody know how to distinguish the structured and unstructured? So just for everybody's benefit, structured data is something that you see in Excel, the rows and columns. Unstructured data is like your Facebook post or your images or your videos. Okay. So by definition, structured data is easy to search. Yeah. Unstructured data is easy to sort of process manipulate, search, etc. Okay. So in between structured data and unstructured data, there is something also called semi-structured data. Yeah. So if you look at your XML files or your JSON files, yeah, they are all falling in this category called semi-structured data. Okay. A lot of documents today are being formatted. A lot of invoices are being formatted using some commonly agreed upon protocols called XML or JSON. Okay. So these are some things good to know. So I was talking about different aspects of big data, the volume aspect, the fact that the data is so many different varieties are there. Yeah. Velocity aspect, and the is it trustworthy, is it having, can I trust this data? Yeah. So discrepancies, etc. So veracity of the data is also important. So these are typically, there are more V's, but these are primary 4 V's that we talk about. Yeah. So essentially the whole purpose of being, see, data by itself doesn't add any value. Yeah. But what insights you are deriving from data, and then those insights has to be actionable, you see. So when you say actionable insights, so in between the process that you apply is called analytics. Yeah. So between big data or between data and actionable insights, you have something in between going on called analytics. So that is what we want to discuss today. Okay. So many people have this feeling that analytics is something that only big companies do. Yeah, only companies do. But I am sure analytics is happening even by you in your day-to-day life. So let's talk about a fruit vendor analogy. Yeah. So I read this somewhere and I found it very interesting. So there's this fruit vendor who used to come to a particular street, and suddenly he stopped coming. Okay. So the author is saying, why did he stop coming? So one day he spotted this fruit vendor in another lane. Okay. So he asked him, why are you not coming to our lane nowadays? So this guy gave some interesting answers. He said, sir, in your lane, people bargain a lot. Okay. Plus, there are many other fruit vendors coming. So I changed the lane. I found a new street. Okay. So the author gets curious. Which street have you got? And how did you select that street? So I said, I saw a street where a lot of big cars are there. Yeah. And what I found good is that these guys value quality, but they don't bargain a lot. They don't bargain, but they value quality. They expect quality. So I decided to go to this new street. So unknowingly, this guy, who's apparently a high school dropout, he's using some business tactics, which in the world of MBA you might term them as customer profiling, demographic segmentation, competitor analysis. Okay. And he's taking some strategic business decisions. Don't you think so? Yeah. He's understood the behavior of his customers, and he doesn't want to compete with other vendors in their business segment. So he has carved a niche for himself in a particular segment, and he wants to cater to that segment. You see? So analytics is used by a lot more people than you think. That's what I was trying to drive at. Okay. However, what is the difference between this fruit vendor and, let's say, Amazon? Anybody? So the difference is scale. Yeah. You see, the fruit vendor is able to participate in all his transactions. But Amazon, with so many customers happening day in, day out, they can't participate in all the transactions. Okay. And yet they have to derive meaningful insights from the transactions that their customers are performing in their website. You see? So the point is, in a in the world of business, when we talk about analytics, when we say business analytics, we are talking about analytics on a scale. Otherwise, even a fruit vendor is doing analytics. You see? So in case of Walmart, Amazon, or Flipkart, or Big Bazaar, the number of stores, the number of SKUs, the number of transactions are huge. Okay. And even you can't handle them with your common analytics tool called Excel. By the way, Excel is a very powerful tool, and just to let you know, it has got capabilities that many people haven't utilized as well as they should have. Yeah. But one of the limitations of Excel is that it can handle only 1 million rows, but the data size is beyond that. Okay. So you need other solutions. Okay. So now we are coming to a point where we are ready to talk about what is analytics. So would you agree with this slide? Data coming in, and then you perform some mumbo jumbo, yeah, some magic, and then business insight comes out. Would you agree with this simplified definition of analytics? Yeah. However, in reality, this is not what happens. In reality, you have all kind of data, including messy and garbage data. Okay. You have to really struggle, you have to fight, and then sometimes you work on not so good data. Maybe the data is garbage. Yeah. So when you work on garbage data, what comes out is actually noise. It's not a business insight, because there's a term called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. If you deal with garbage data, what comes out is also garbage. So anyways, but there is good data as well. So your struggle is to distinguish between the business insight and the noise. All right. So far, so good. So when people think of analytics, they think of various types of visualizations, dashboards. And one thing I want to tell you is that in the world of business, no matter what your role is, if you are in HR, you are in marketing or finance, you would have to deal with analytics in one way or other. Yeah. You can't avoid it. You can't say it's somebody else's job. It is going to be integral to your job description going forward. Okay. So better, get comfortable with it and come to grips with it. Yeah. We'll talk about it a little later. So let's talk about some examples. You have a credit card company. Yeah. And see, I don't know, have you heard this term called blue ocean and red ocean strategy? Anybody has heard about this term? Yeah.
No, sir.
So blue ocean and red ocean strategy. Okay. Again, I'm not a marketing guy. I was I overheard somebody speaking about it. I found it very interesting. So you see, in every business, you can be in red ocean or blue ocean. So red ocean is when you are sort of competing with others. There's a struggle. Okay. Let's talk about an example. Let's say, what could be a good example? Let's say online groceries you want to sell. Yeah. So if you also, today there is a lot of websites, there is Grofers and Big Basket and so on and so forth, even Amazon. Yeah. So the red ocean means you are one of the players, okay, and you are trying to grab a market share for yourself. Yeah. And then you have to heavily depend on, undercutting your price and, promoting your product like anything and things like that. Yeah. So this is red ocean, wherein there's a struggle. The blue ocean is where you differentiate yourself in a very nice way, which your competitors are not doing, and therefore sort of you're avoiding the competition. So the same analogy applies here. There's a lot of plethora of credit cards today. Every now and then, people are getting these calls from credit card, companies, the telecallers. Yeah. So question is, if you continue to do it a traditional way, which is called brute force strategy, meaning call randomly anybody and everybody, and try to convince them to take your credit card. I got a good example. I don't exactly remember, but I think it was done by Citibank and Jet Airways. They sort of came out with a co-branding. Okay, so what they did was they targeted. Of course, now it has become a commonplace statistic, but that time it was a differentiated offering of a credit card wherein the guys will actually accumulate airline miles and then which they can later on redeem for free air tickets. So that was a very niche segment. So Citibank and Jet Airways sort of identified and they targeted people who travel a lot. Okay, so this is something that makes a lot of sense. So you analyze the data, who is traveling a lot, and then you come out with this offering. Yeah, so this is one example of using analytics to differentiate your offerings. You see, today there are two types of struggles that companies have. One is that they have bad human resources which they want to let go. The other challenge they have is that they want to retain some really critical resources. Yeah. Now, you see, a company is not a brick and mortar, or it's not a logo. It's actually, if you really see, a company is a bunch of people. Yeah. So in every company, retaining the critical resources is a very, very strategic task. You see, and if they limit, if they sort of leave you, you are left high and dry. You might have hired them with a lot of expectations. You might have actually, if you really see any company you join, whether you are a fresher or you are an experienced guy, there is a what you call a period of latency wherein you are unproductive. You see, so when you are unproductive, companies actually sort of, it's a honeymoon phase. You are not doing anything productive for the company, and company is paying you just like that. And imagine such a critical resource leaving the company in 1 year or 2 years. Company really hasn't got much because first 6 months might have been just a honeymoon phase. So attrition analysis is another very important. So if you can predict who is likely to leave, so then that is really something that you can, that insight is something that you can work on and then do something to prevent that attrition. Yeah? Particularly in tech companies, it's a commonplace. Yeah. So now if you're in HR function, you need to do what is called as attrition analysis. Yeah. Or churn analysis. Okay. If you're in a telecom company, a similar churn analysis you have to do for subscribers who are looking to jump from your service to your competition. So you might be an Airtel subscriber looking to jump to Jio. But before you do that, actually, it's been found that you are giving some signals to the company. I can tell you about my one of my personal experience. I had a Citibank credit card for a long period of time, more than 10 years. Yeah. And one time noticed in the bill, they sort of charged me some heavy interest payment or whatever. Maybe there was a delay of 1 day or so. I requested them that I am a long-standing consumer. I don't, default on credit card payments. Okay, but they sort of said, no, no, it's our standard policy. This, so to hell with your standard policy, I'm leaving. Yeah. So if they had performed any analytics, so the guy who was dealing with me was at a transactional level. Okay. If somebody at a senior level had spotted this data that there is a customer who is calling me several times to, so why is that? Why is this unusual telecalling activity on the part of the consumer? Yeah. So they did nothing of that, and I left. Okay. I closed that account. You see. So, well, I don't know whether I was too big of a customer for them, but these are good. If too many such customers leave, I was a very loyal customer. Yeah. Similarly, today in bank context, you have a lot of non-performing assets. You give loan. Banks really want to give loans, but they want to also ensure that the loans are given to the people who will actually return them back. Yeah. So how do you predict that? That's another predictive analytics that you can perform. Yeah. So today there's a huge jargon war going on: data science, decision science, business analytics, intelligence, so on and so forth. Okay. My sense is that you just talk about, I mean, all of them, they may have semantic differences, but they all support the same goal, which is turning data into useful insight. So if you remember that, you will be fine. Yeah. Don't get carried away with the jargons. So turning data into useful insight is what we are talking about in analytics. Yeah. So anybody has any questions so far? Anybody wants to ask anything? Can we continue? Okay. So
Yes, sir.
feel free to ask if you want to ask. Yeah. Now, there are 4 aspects to analytics: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. And these terms are self-explanatory, but let us discuss what happened. So descriptive is essentially explaining what has already happened in the business. Yeah. So when you say my last year's sales was so and so, out of which north sales was so and so, south sales was so and so, you are actually doing what is called descriptive analytics. Yeah. But if somebody asks you, how come north sales is so low quarter on quarter, year on year? So when you drill down and try to explain why north sales are so low, you are getting into an area called diagnostic analytics. Much like your doctor, So the report that the diagnostic lab comes out with is actually your descriptive analytics, like how much was your blood sugar, how much was your cholesterol. This is all descriptive analytics. But when you go to a doctor with that report and he's saying, look, your cholesterol is so and so, your sugar is so and so, your BP is so and so, and therefore it looks like you're heading towards diabetes. So let's do something. Okay. Or how come your cholesterol has gone up so much? So doctor is getting into what is known as diagnostic analytics. All right. Now, predictive, as the word suggests, if you, let's say in the world of example of sales, if you can predict your sales next few quarters, what would be your advantage? Can you think of the advantage you will gain? If you can accurately predict your sales for, let's say, next 3 or 4 quarters, or maybe 1 or 2 years, can you tell me what advantage will you gain? What business advantage will you gain? Anyone? You guys are doing MBA, right? What business advantage would you gain if you can predict your sales accurately? Anyone? So, yeah,
We can achieve our target.
you can achieve your target. Good
We
answer.
can plan accordingly.
You can plan accordingly. Good answer.
Inventory
Future revenue
management.
growth.
Yeah, your inventory management would be better. Good answer.
Future revenue growth and management of financial
Correct.
need.
Correct. All of you were right.
Helps in
So,
targeting customers.
sorry,
Helps in targeting customers.
helps in targeting customers. How come?
If sales is so and so, then if we need more customers,
Hmm.
then we'll start finding
Yeah,
customers.
true. Yeah, so basically, if your prediction is that so and so much of sales is going to happen, and you are not happy with that prediction, so you have to generate some more customers. Good answer.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? So let me put it in a way that I understand. Yeah. So there are two problems. If your forecast of sales, if your production is less than your forecast, what's happening is you are losing your revenue goals. Yes, you're going to underperform, isn't it? If your forecasted sales is, let's say, 100 and your production is 80, so you have lost 20 in terms of sales. On the other hand, if your forecast is 100 and your production is 120, that 20 extra is going to be your inventory. And essentially, I want you to think of inventory as money that is blocked. Yes, I want you to think of inventory as money that is blocked. Remember, if you are an entrepreneur, you would have taken a business loan at maybe 15% or 20% rate of interest, and that money which is lying in your factory or in your warehouse as you know inventory, you are paying interest for that blocked money, because unless and until your product goes to the customer and you get paid, you everything else is in inventory. Correct. So there is a great value in accurately, and I tell you, sometimes we have to be very clear in our head, as in, let's say you are a CEO of a company or you started a business. So one of your uh, key areas that you should focus, in my opinion, is to ensure that you stay on top of your predictions of the upcoming sales. Yeah, so that you don't get into the two situations that I just talked about, either underperforming and losing the sales and losing the revenue goals, or overproduction and getting into a inventory kind of situation. The last one is prescriptive, in which you are, let's say you have come out with your forecasts, yeah, and you have multiple factories. How much should each factory produce? That is something prescriptive sort of analytics, wherein action is being recommended. Yeah. So if you look at the value and complexity dimension, the prescriptive is the most complicated form of analytics, yet it is the most valuable. And descriptive is the simplest of analytics, and in terms of value, relatively speaking, the lowest in the value chain. Yeah. So this is just to put in perspective what are the different types of analytics in terms of complexity and value. And we just talked about it. What are the examples? Yeah. Now, when we actually perform analytics, we follow a framework which is called CRISP DM, Cross Industry Standard Process for Data Mining. Yeah. So essentially, it is all very, very commonsensical stuff. So here in the diagram, there is something wrong. So it doesn't start with deployment. The one is wrongly marked in deployment. It starts from business understanding. So I always talk about the fact that if you want to do business analytics, a guy who understands the business can do better job of analytics than a guy who is understanding technology. So if I know Python, if I know R, if I know Excel, if I know all those machine learning algorithms, okay, compared to the guy who understands the business, I am less valuable. You see? So business understanding is the first and foremost. Okay. Analytics is a general purpose skill, and that is why another way to put it across is, if you understand analytics and can, if you're aspiring to in that field, it's a skill which is a general purpose skill, and therefore you can always shift from one industry to another industry. So that's another perspective. But in the terms of employing the analytics journey, so very critical, it has to be the business understanding, okay, and then it has to be data understanding. Yeah. So you let us talk about some examples of business understanding. So here are some examples. Maybe your goal is to boost your revenue. Maybe your goal is to identify and segment customers. Maybe you are a logistics company and you are looking to identify your bottlenecks. Yeah, so business understanding. So once you know your goal, what are you looking to drive, then you come back to what is called data understanding. What data you have and what data you need. Yeah. So that's your second task. Then you also think in terms of your availability of data, the quality of the data, granularity. What is that? Granularity is, one example could be, let's say you could capture your transaction at yearly level. You can capture the transaction at a monthly level. You can capture the transaction at a weekly level or a daily level or even an hourly level. What level of granularity you want? Obviously, the more granular data you have, more analytics you can perform. But the downside is the volume also grows exponentially. Yeah. So when you go to big bazaar, every minute some customer is buying some product. Yeah. But once, so the data that is getting generated at the billing counter is essentially the transactional data. It's a highly granular data. Yeah. And the frequency of that data is also very high. But the manager of that big bazaar who wants to analyze his sales, which items to replenish, which items to reorder. Yeah. So he probably is not interested in analyzing at a hourly level or a minute by minute level. He is more interested in analyzing at a day's level. So entire day's data, he wants to put it in a place, in a separate database, so to speak, for his analysis. Yeah. So you understand the term granularity and the frequency. Yeah. So this is all about a data understanding. And then comes what is called as data preparation. So whatever I'm going to show you here is a very simplistic expression of the challenges that comes in the data preparation. Most time-consuming task is data preparation. So just to give you a perspective, it could be that your data is not in the right format. There are a lot of missing data. Yeah. For example, you can see here, New York is being expressed in two ways here. Okay. So you want to standardize that. Why? Because if you don't do that, you will get, maybe when you analyze your sales or whatever, you would get two buckets of sales, one for New York and one for NY, which is what is not desirable. So you want to sort of standardize everything. Yeah. And then comes, once your data is prepared, you're ready with the data, then you come into a situation called model. Okay. So modeling, just to give you an example, you want to, so one example of modeling could be, how does my sales, what are the different factors on which my sales depends? See, as an organization, you want to accurately predict your sales. Yeah. So you want to come out with a sales model. Yeah. So what are the factors on which my sales depends? Is it on the price of the product? Is it on the advertising that we do? Yeah. Now, actual sales is actual reality. A model is trying to capture that reality in a simplistic manner. Yeah. And that is, so model is not the reality, but model sort of represents the reality. You see? So that is what I would put it across as a model's definition. Another example here, as you can see, insurance company wants to know how many customers of theirs will have accident and therefore there will be claims. Yeah, because they want to see that the premiums they are collecting, is it lesser than the claims amount they are paying, or is it more? Yeah, so these are kind of business decisions that. So when you are doing modeling in the context of, let's say, sales forecasting model, so you first have the data and you are trying to understand that data, how many different variables are there. Variables are in the world of Excel, or the world of Excel, columns represent the variables and the rows represent the data instances. Yeah. So when you say you want to do exploratory analysis, you are essentially trying to summarize your data in various ways, right? Example could be, in the world of sales, one second, just give me a second. Malaysia, just 1 second. Yes. So in the world of sales, you are, when you are constructing your sales model, the different variables that you select, you might have, let's say, 20 or 30 variables, but you don't put everything in that way, in that model. Yeah, you want to select maybe 3 or 4 best variables which can explain the sales meaningfully. That's your modeling. Okay, and then you want to see your model, how much it is matching with the reality. Yeah, and that is how you do model evaluation. Okay, so in this process we utilize certain tools. You would have definitely heard about R and Python, so we use that. Okay, Python is gaining more currency these days, but R is very, very capable. Okay, and I just talked about it. Once your model has been evaluated, you want to deploy it. Okay, just to sort of summarize, you in any particular analytics project that happens in an industry, you go through data extraction, exploratory data analysis. Feature engineering is essentially all about identifying the variables that are meaningful for your model, performing the modeling, and then finally visualizing. You see, most of the guys who are going to sort of approve your model are actually non-technical guys. So they don't understand this coding and all that stuff. So they want to see everything in the form of some charts, some visualizations. Okay, so you need to do that so that you can better explain. It's good for you also. When you visualize your data, you yourself get a better understanding of what you are trying to accomplish. Yeah. So this is what goes in. Any questions? Am I making sense? You are following, or is it going as very technical kind of stuff?
Following, sir.
Okay. Right. So in the world of business analytics, we perform various tasks. Okay, we use SQL, structured query language, to see what data we have got and try to sort of let's say.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Your presentation is not being presented, sir. I think
Oh,
some.
it's not visible.
Yeah, it's not visible. Students, please stop presenting. Don't disturb the speaker. I think one of the students presented, sir. That's why your presentation stopped.
Oh, really? Okay. Let me. Let me start it again. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm saying is, these tools that you are seeing, by the way, I would again like to emphasize that Excel is very capable analytics tool. Okay, in the world of analytics professionals, it is looked down upon. Oh, you know only Excel. Okay, but I feel Excel is huge. It has got so much of capabilities. Okay, but we do have other languages like Python, R. We do have, so we use Tableau for visualization. We use SQL to play with the data, as in what is there in my tables. Okay, we use Python to sort of build statistical models, etc., etc. Yeah. So in Python we use this Jupyter notebook, and it's a very modern way of programming. It was little different few years back, but Jupyter, just to let you know, Jupyter can be used for even R or other programming languages as well. But here, the most popular way of using Jupyter is with Python, of course. So this is one example. Then we can use R. So when we use R, we can use R directly, but the suggested best practice is to use a what we call as integrated development environment, IDE. So here we use something called R Studio. So I'm just going to repeat myself that we can use even Jupyter for R, with R. You see, Tableau is a very quick and easy way to perform visualizations. I would suggest that you download Tableau Public and go through some tutorials on which are publicly available, and you can really come to grip with what this tool can do. Yeah, it's a very powerful data visualization tool, performs stunning visualizations with ease, and really, I mean, I'm very impressed with the capabilities that Tableau has. Yeah. This is something that I was telling about, SQL Server. So we can use to sort of, if you really want to get into the back end of the data analytics, SQL is what it is, and you can really set up your data in tables, and query the data in the tables, and so on and so forth. Yeah, every website, the backend is SQL. Yeah. Now let's understand the different careers and what it holds for you. Yeah. So there are three dimensions for any career in analytics. There's a technology dimension, there is a math dimension, and there's a business dimension. Yeah. So there are two distinct type of roles that you can undertake in your career in analytics. Yeah. So you could be, your major is, let's say, finance or marketing or HR or supply chain, but you are also augmenting that role with analytics. So you can be that. So this is a typical business role. So you're mainly a finance professional, you're mainly a HR professional, or you're mainly a marketing professional. But so for example, we will do one exercise now. As a marketing guy, you want to do something called pricing analytics, for example. So actually you are a marketing guy, but you are performing analytics. The other extreme could be you're into purely technology role. So you're a pure data science professional. Yeah. So those are pure analytics roles. So these are the two extremes. And I already discussed about the popular softwares. So these are all open source. Excel publicly available, R publicly available, Python with Jupyter publicly available, Tableau public is publicly available. Yeah. So you can just download that tool and go along with the free trial, and that way you can gain some experience, and that way you can differentiate. See, today the world is coming to a point wherein organizations don't have that luxury of giving you training once you onboard with them. Okay, there might be some organizations who do that. Yeah, but majorly organizations want you to be productive from day one. So as much as you have hands-on skills with you. So if you are talking about accounting, can you perform all the necessary accounting entries using a software like Tally? Yeah. So that's very valuable for a company. Yeah. How much productive you can be in a very short period of time, preferably from day one. Yeah. So that's really good for them. So therefore, you would be well advised to get hands-on with some of these tools. Yeah. So just to summarize, we talked about what is analytics, types of analytics, life cycle of analytics, CRISP DM framework that we talked about. We talked about the fact that big data is all around us. Okay, it is characterized by volume, velocity, and variety. Yeah. And then we talked about some popular tools. We also talked about the career in analytics. And maybe if you are already not looking at it from a technology dimension, you can have a mix and match of majorly being business savvy and then also knowing the applied part of analytics, and that is also very, very valuable. Yeah. So I'm done with my first part, which I was supposed to do. I will now take a hands-on exercise for which you are expected to have Excel with you. Yeah, using Excel, we will perform some pricing optimization analytics work. Yeah. Meanwhile, anybody has any questions? I think we are ahead of time because this exercise might take half an hour. So anybody has any questions, feel free. Okay, so can we get on with this Excel-based pricing analytics example? Can you all open your Excel? Although I can't see you, but I can recommend you to do this with me so that you get maximum value out of this session. So are you ready? I mean, I can give you 1 minute for opening your Excel. Anybody who is ready, can you please shout? You would also need solver. Let me show you how you can get it. So you go to File, Options, Add-ins, and then Analysis Tool Pack. And then you say Go, and you check on the solver add-in. So that's how you can use the solver. Okay. Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are talking about, let me give some theoretical concepts before we get on. So we are talking about something called pricing analytics. This is something a marketing guy would do if you are really if you really got a good job in marketing, wherein you get to decide the pricing of your product. Yeah. So here in this example, we are talking about pricing two scenarios: pricing a printer alone or pricing a printer along with a cartridge. Would you price it the same way or you price it differently? Okay. So in this exercise, we are using a concept called demand curve. How many of you know about demand curve? Do you know about demand curve?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you also familiar with the price elasticity concept?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So just to, for everybody's benefit, okay, few concepts we'll talk about. One is price elasticity. Price elasticity, here we are assuming that the printer is having a price elasticity of 2, which means if the price of printer goes down by 1%, the demand for printer will go up by 2%. Contrary wise, if price goes up by 1%, the demand goes down by 2%. Is it making sense to you guys? So we are using something called linear demand curve. What is the other demand curve that you are familiar with? Linear demand curve. Have you heard? Linear demand curve? Power demand curve? Anyways, doesn't matter. For the purpose of a discussion, is the elasticity concept understood? Yeah. Now, assume that your current price is $75, your current demand is 5,000 printers, and your cost to produce one printer is $59. Yeah. Price elasticity is known to you. Now, what are you trying to figure out? You're trying to figure out what should be your ideal price. If you're selling printer alone, what should be your ideal price? Are you guys following me? Okay. So now you need to do two things. You need to first come out with something called demand curve. Okay. For constructing the demand curve, you go to Excel and create two data points. So one is 75 and 5,000. And since we told you that elasticity is 2, so we are increasing the price by 1%. So 75 becomes 75.75. Okay. And demand will reduce by 2%. So it will become 4900. Why did we do this? We wanted a second coordinate. Why? Because then I can construct my demand curve. All right? Making sense? Follow along. Do this and then select your data. Go to scatter plot. Okay? And then you will get a data, the visualization you will get like this. Yeah. Now notice that the demand curve should have a negative slope, not a positive slope. Correct, na? Price increases, demand should reduce. It should not happen that price increases, demand also increases. So it should not have a positive slope, it should have a negative slope. Okay, so therefore you click on switch row column and you will have a curve like this. Let me show you in my Excel sheet. Can you see that? Can you see my Excel sheet? Guys, can you see my
Yes,
Excel
sir.
sheet? So what did I do? I created the two data points, select the data and go to insert and go to scatter plot. Yeah, and you click here. So as you notice, this 2 points that I am getting is indicating a positive slope, which is not desirable. So I go to switch row columns. So this is the right slope. Then I select the data point and I do right click and I say add trend line. So I select the linear trend line and I say I want to display the equation. That's it. So you get a demand curve. Y is equal to minus 133.33 x plus 15,000. What is Y? Demand. What is X? Price. Clear? So far so clear? So this is what it is. Are you guys following? Okay. Now, what's our objective? We want to identify what is the best price to sell the printer at. We are only selling printer, correct? So let's say I make a guess. I don't know, right? I want Excel to calculate it for me. Okay. So I do my guess as 70. 70 is my best price. So when I say 70, my demand, which is actually this equation, minus 133.33x plus 15,000. So can you see my Excel equation? So my 15,000 minus 133.33 into B6. What is B6? B6 is the price, 70. Okay. So when you give 70, it gives you the demand, correct? So that demand is known to you. Now profit. What is profit? Profit is demand B7 multiplied by B6. What is B6? The price. What is B5? The unit cost. So demand multiplied by selling price minus unit cost is equal to profit. Simple. So now what we will do, we will go to data, we'll go to solver. Okay. So in this solver, you would have used it already. You would like to maximize your profit. So you say set objective, maximize B15, which is your profit. I hope you guys are following me. And you select on maximize objective. Yeah. What is it that you are changing? You're changing your correct. You're changing your price. Okay, so B6. And that's about it. You solve it. When you solve it, I'm sorry, something. Just give me a second, guys. Let us do it again. Solver, maximize, the profit by changing price and solve it. Yeah, it has given you the best price as $85.75, and correspondingly the demand has now reduced. See, notice that when you gave 70 as your guess, your demand was more. your sales was more. So you are really not looking to maximize your sales. You are looking to maximize your profit. Your sales was more, but your profit was less. But at this demand, your profit is more. So that is what Excel has optimized. Are you guys following? Are you guys following what we have done? This is your part one of the exercise. Yeah. Part two is, now there is a concept called tie-in products. What is tie-in products? So printer with cartridge is a tie-in product. Okay. So now you want to sell your printer and cartridge together. Okay. So some data is given to you for that also. So you know, printer is going to last 3 years, cartridge is going to last 6 months in this example, and therefore for each printer that you are selling, you will be selling 6 cartridge. Yeah, and you have the cartridge price data and you have cartridge profit data. Yeah, so now you have to again construct your equation. So your unit cost is $59. Your cartridge per printer is 6. Your profit per cartridge is 12. You select your initial guess for optimal price. You enter the demand formula, 15,000 minus 133.3 into price. So you get the demand. Then you talk about the total profit. The total profit is printer profit plus cartridge profit. So the formula has to be updated. Yeah, cartridge profit plus printer profit is the total profit. I hope you guys are following. Anybody following? Can you give me a shout? Who is following me? Who is doing this exercise as we speak? Anybody? Not a single soul? Not even one person? There are 1 or 2 people who always are very sincere. They have something called sincerity complex. Anybody like that? Anyways, you guys can try it out. Yeah, I have already given you the data. You can try it out. I'll be happy to share with you any data that you would require. Yeah. So you update the profit formula and then you start solver again. So now let me do it in the Excel for you just to show you how it works. So I put the cost $59, cartridge per printer 6, profit per cartridge 12. Yeah, and now I will again put my guess as $70 for the best price. So my demand changed, my profit changed. Right now my profit is showing as 470,352. Yeah, is this my best profit? So we start solver again. So now my objective is what? B15. B15 is my total profit. This is what I want to maximize. Changing what? Changing my B13, which is my best price guess. Yeah, and solve. So when I solve it, I see now it's very interesting. It is telling me your selling price for printer should be $49.75. Hold on, this is lesser than my printer cost. Why should I sell at a loss? Well, if you sell at this price, your demand has grown up so much that your profit in cartridge is going to compensate for the loss in printer. And as you can notice, your best profit is coming out as 525,018. Is anybody understanding what's going on? Yes, no? Am I audible? All right, so this is what I actually wanted to share with you guys. I just thought it's good to share presentation, but it's also nice to let me stop presenting. It's also nice to have some hands-on kind of stuff. Yeah, I hope you liked it. You have any questions? Any questions, guys? Dharmen sir, I am done. I would be happy to take.
Students, go ahead and ask for any clarifications or doubts. I don't think so, sir. Okay, I think they probably must have understood all what you have
Yeah,
said. And students, please also try out the exercises sir has shown you. Be
yeah.
very
That
useful.
feedback. There is a one feedback link that will be given.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
already shared. The
yeah.
feedback link is shared. Students, please submit your feedback. That will
Yes.
also taken as your attendance for the event. Sir, I really thank you very much for this fantastic presentation.
Sir, thanks to you guys for organizing this, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be amongst your students.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And on behalf of MBA Bangalore University Department, we thank you so much.
Thank
And
you. Thank you, sir.
maybe under the normal circumstances, we'd like to have an in-person session from you, sir, for our session.
Surely. My pleasure, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, students.
Students, a couple of announcements. Please submit the feedback which is already there in the chat box. And today's 1 to 5 session has been postponed to 30th November at the same time. So you will not have 1 to 5 session today. But 5 to 7 session will be there for finance students. So please do attend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The feedback link is there in the chat box. Please check.